Okay, yo, welcome back, welcome to the channel. It is, you know who I am. You clicked on a video. Okay, so y'all can see we're doing something a little different today. I wanted to try out a little story time here. So if any of you guys follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you kind of saw what I posted the past few days, and I alluded to that there would be a video, and so that's where we are at today. For those of you guys that have no idea and are just subscribed to my channel or just finding this video randomly, here we go. As you can probably see already by the title, you kind of know a little bit of what I'm about to talk about, but not much. But let me take you guys back. All right, so my car, I love my car. It is, I've had, one of those love-hate relationships. That's what I've had with my vehicle. Started off as just pure unconditional love from when I first got it at 18. My mother gave it to me as a graduation gift, and it was everything I wanted and more. And as some of you guys saw that I posted on my Instagram story, I've done everything in that vehicle. Like, it's been around the country with me. It's been to just literally, I have so many firsts in that vehicle. And so a few years ago, I started having trouble with it. It's an older car. And so we kind of knew that this was coming, but we didn't know to what extent. So as time goes on, car trouble goes on, we get it fixed, blah, blah, blah. All right, so that story starts back about almost 10 years ago. All right, so then now let's fast forward to about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So my car, over the past few months, it's been getting a little bit louder, just a little bit, like louder and louder. And I was like, okay, I know eventually I'll have to probably look at it, but not really. It shouldn't be anything serious because I'm getting it serviced like every 3,000 miles. Like I'm just really on top of it. So I believe to myself, it's all right. But then I started getting like this little bounce, probably like maybe 2 months ago or so. But I had gotten, I kind of had this issue a little bit some months previous, but I had gotten new tires, and then it did it, and so then I took it back, and they said it was fine. Okay, so they took it back, they did whatever with the tires, and they said it was fine. So I went on. But that doesn't, so imagine I'm still riding, there's no bump, but there's just this loud engine roar. I don't know how else to describe it. So time goes on. All right, so I have my last, I have one of my last finals coming up a couple of weeks ago. So I wake up and I get ready to go. Well, also I should include this in. So this year, COVID has been awful. Here in Tennessee, particularly where I work in Nashville, a lot of things have been shut down. So I had a plan to buy a new vehicle this year, but COVID kind of ruined that. But I'll save that for another time. So this is how I kind of end up still dealing with the issues of this car right now. Even though I love it, I know the good times are coming to an end. But I didn't know how soon. So yeah, as I was saying, a couple of weeks ago, I go to take my last one of my last finals. And as I get into my car, I typically call my mother in the morning, and we kind of just have a chat and stuff. Basically tell each other have a good day, and I text my family and stuff. And so in the process of this, I go to pull out of my parking spot here at my house, and I notice that there's like this like this. And I was like, huh, that's kind of weird. And so I'm talking to my mother. I'm like, hey, like this is happening. And she was like, well, you should probably get that looked at. And I'm like, well, I don't have time right now. Like I need to, go take my final. And so I start going, and it's about, I get up to about 25, 30 miles per hour. And all of a sudden, like the wheel is shaking so bad that I cannot control this wheel. Like it's just like this, like I'm shaking so hard. And so like I'm still on the phone with my mother because I mean, this is only probably 3 minutes into like my journey across town to go to the campus. And so I tell her, I'm like, Mom, like I can't even get up to 25 without this shaking so bad. She's like, well, why are you still in the car? Imagine a typical mother's response to this. That's what she gives. And I was like, well, I can't do anything about it right now because I need to make it to this final. I'm trying to graduate, trying to get out of here. So this goes on. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just slow play this all the way to campus. So I drive probably 20 miles per hour from my house all the way to campus, which is about a 15-minute ride, roughly 15. And I just park it and I look at it really fast because I have about 35 minutes before my final starts. And so I just kind of look at it and I'm like, I don't see why there would be an issue here. Hey, so I was like, okay, whatever. So then I go in, then I come back out and I was like, hey, I'm gonna check it out. Like I'm looking at the tires. There's nothing in the tires. There's nothing that I can see. I should also premise this with, I don't know much about cars. I know the very basic, generic information you would know about a vehicle. So as I'm looking at this, I'm like, nothing's sticking out to me that I should know. Like, that I need to be like, that's the problem, So I go, I call my mother back because she was like, call me whenever you're done so we can, check out and see what the issue is. And so I'm looking at it and I was like, okay. So then I call her back and I'm like, I really don't know what the issue is. My coolant was a little bit low, but I had coolant in the car. So I just filled that up and it's right around time for me to get an oil change. So she was like, hey, you should probably, get an oil change and, just get your car checked out. So I was like, yeah, all right. In the meantime, I won't drive it. But I had work. And so I was fortunate enough that my roommate, there's a huge segment of this that I'm missing. I'm fortunate enough that my roommate also works with me. So he just lets me ride with him up there. Okay, so the section I was missing here is just a few days before this issue occurred. My car, I go to start my car up just to go somewhere and it will not start. I had just gotten back home. I went hunting, just gotten back home, didn't get a kill. And then I kind of had trouble starting it up, but it got going, which is not unusual for my car since it's so old. But then I pull up to my house, park it, but then I'm coming back out after I went hunting. I was going to the gym. And it's just clicking, like it's not turning over. And I've had this issue before. So I had called my mother. I was like, hey, I'm about to get the car looked at because of blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I think this might be the last run for it. And she was like, you shouldn't be saying that, so on and so forth. So I was like, all right. So it turns out that my car, the starter went out on it again. And not just the starter, the whole connection for the starter to all the pieces, the guy said. I forgot exactly. But I had the same exact issue 5 years previous, almost to the day. I believe 5 years ago, it was in December. It was December 15th or 17th. And this issue was just late November. I forgot exactly when in November. Almost right. It was almost right before Thanksgiving. So almost 5 years exactly. The same exact issue. And I tell her, I'm like, Mom, we just got this fixed 5 years ago. And she was like, well, hey, you need to also get the rest of the car looked at because in the same time 5 years ago, I had the starter go out. I had the differential go out in the back. I had to get that completely rebuilt. And I also, there was one more issue with it. Oh, the electrical in the car also went out. So only one window works in my car. Only one window works in my car, and also none of the doors unlock unless I manually unlock them, and none of the things dealing like with the lift up. I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo for anybody that doesn't know. So all the electrical like is out. So it's literally only my side basically starting up, and this window that goes down. That's it. So so that's all. This happens at one time 5 years ago. So now it almost looks as if there's a pattern of it again about to happen now. So after the guy tells me that with the car, I tell my mother. So she says, well, hey, don't worry about it, because again, this is a COVID year, and me being in the service industry has been awful. She was like, don't worry about it. I'll just take care of this for you. Like, you just worry about all your other stuff. I said, okay, thanks, Mom. So she gets it replaced for me, $500. I'm like, okay, I'm back, I'm rolling. I can make that 500 back to give it back to her, no big deal. Just give me, a little bit of time, I'll get it back. No. So that's when we roll into this issue of the wobbly. So so as I said, this happens then on my way to take my final on a Friday. And it turns out, so I was like, I just want to drive it for a little while. I'll let it kind of rest. Like I said, I have my roommate here. Also, my fiance has a vehicle. And she was like, hey, I'll be at school most of the day because she's a teacher. She was like, you could just have my car to do anything that you need to do until you can get like your car looked at. I was like, okay, yeah, perfect. So as soon as I go, so I finally have a day that I can actually get my car like looked at, taken care of. So I take it over to Firestone, and I tell them like all the issues that are going on, and I tell them like, hey, and also can you do an oil change for the stuff? It's that time. So then I go ahead and drop the car off, and I head to the gym to go work out, because I was like, this perfect time. Might as well knock it out while they have the car. And maybe 35, 40 minutes later, the lady calls me back. She was like, hey, so I got some information for you on your car. So if you just want to give me a call back, yeah, I'll tell you about it. And that's the voicemail she left me. So I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, damn, okay, she found the problem, blah, blah, blah. And now she's going to just tell me the price. Okay, so I call her back, and I'm like, hey, I can actually just head right back up there, because I'm wrapping up my workout now. And she said that it probably, before I left, she said it probably would be around like 3 or 4 when she would get the car back to me. This was at like 7 in the morning. And I was like, okay, yeah. And so, but I told her, I was like, yeah, I can just actually head up there right now. And she was like, okay. She was like, well, I want to go ahead and tell you. She said before we even pulled it in, I believe she called it the tail shaft, but I keep hearing everyone else call it the drive shaft. She said the drive shaft dropped out of it, and your transmission is exposed. And there's nothing that we can do. You just need to take it over to a transmission shop. So I'm in the gym. I was like, wait, what? And she said, sir, we didn't even make it into our garage. As soon as did she say the technician? As soon as somebody went to start up your vehicle and put it in the drive, the whole bottom just fell out, and you'll just have to get it towed out of here. It's not drivable. You need to take it to a transmission shop. So I just kind of stepped back, and I was like, okay. I was not prepared for that at all. So I was like, okay. So I had already I was prepared to get rid of my car this year, but not at that exact moment. Because then again, like I told you guys, it's been a love-hate relationship with this. I just get frustrated when things go wrong with it, but I love it so much because, again, all my memories I have in it. And so I was like, okay. So I call my mother, and I tell her, like, hey, oh, man. Again, let's take a step back again. I did not tell you guys this. So as I said, all those problems happened 5 years ago. So when I first got the vehicle, which would have been 4 years previous to that, my mother so in order for us to kind of get a car on our own, she made us drive. So all of our family is from Oklahoma. So, and a lot of them still live there. And so she would make us, whenever we got a car, was the journey, which was basically take your car that you just got or are about to get, and you prove to her that you can do a cross country trip. It's about 9 to 10 hours of driving, but she wants to see that you can like handle the highway, because you practice and stuff around the hometown and like the local highway and stuff like that, but not like the interstate. She wants to see that you can like be alert, make good decisions, travel alone if you had to, and so forth with this vehicle. So it's almost like a rite of passage. So I do that when I first get the vehicle that summer. So she gives it to me right before graduation. So then that summer we take the trip to Oklahoma. And I was like, Mom, this car is like really pulling really hard. There's a couple of hills that we had to go through, and I was like, it feels like I'm having to push the pedal on the floor to even like get it to go like 60. She was like, that's not normal. I was like, I don't think so. But again, I'm a kid. So she says, so as we keep driving down this, the transmission gives out. So we are in northern Little Rock. And this is the day that I learned that there's a difference between Little Rock and northern Little Rock. They put so much emphasis on that. And I know there's probably going to be somebody in this video like, they are two different cities. One's north, one... I know. Okay, I got it. I'm there. I'm with you guys. We spent a day or 2 days. Sorry, she calls every time I'm recording. Every time. But we spent 2 days in northern Little Rock, and we kept calling it Little Rock, and everyone was like, North Little Rock. And it's like, okay, yeah, we get it, north, okay. And so we had to get a rebuilt transmission because I believe a new transmission was right around 4,000, maybe 4,500, somewhere in there. But a rebuilt transmission was only 28 or something like that, 28, 29. And they were also giving a discount on it as well, or something like this. So that's the one we went with. So $2,000 later, I'm back rolling. At least for, that was 4 years. And so, all right, so now let's go back to a couple weeks ago. So when the lady tells me that, the drive shaft, tail shaft has fallen out and the transmission is exposed, so I call my mother. I'm like, Ma, it's like everything that's happened over these last few years is now repeating itself again. And I was like, Ma, so I tried to get an estimate for my car to try to get it traded in, because as I said, I was looking at getting a new vehicle this year, but COVID ruined that. And she said to me, so I already knew the value of this car was for a trade-in would be right around $2,000, 2,300, somewhere in there. And I was like, Ma, a new transmission costs just as much as this new vehicle. And as the vehicle itself, I was like, it's not worth it. Like, I might as well just take that money and put it into something else. And she was like, well, it's your car. It's in your name. You figure it out. Or, not really figure it out. You make the decision. Like, she would sit there and talk with me through my options. But she was like, at the end, it's your decision. So I'm going with whatever you decide. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it, and I'm talking to the lady at Firestone. She says, sir, that's not drivable. And she tells me, like, it's done. This is what she tells me. And so I'm looking at it, and I was like, okay, so I can either get this towed out of here for $60 to a transmission shop, or a lot of people have been telling me about a scrapyard and how they'll give you money for your vehicle. And so I tell my mother about this option, and she says, with what you're looking at and what they're telling you, that's not a bad option. Just take it over there and see what you can get. And so I call up the tow company. I say, hey, I need to get this car to the scrapyard, blah, blah, blah. And man, you talk about a hard time. I did not know. I did not know the emotional attachment I had to this vehicle until I saw this tow truck pull up to take my car away. And all of a sudden I was just like, there's an entire time period of my life, an era of my life is in that vehicle with memories, and it's gone. And it just hits me like a ton of bricks. So for those people that follow me on Instagram and Facebook, they now see that story. So I just started posting about my car, the memories and stuff, like first pictures and stuff in it, all that kind of stuff. And I was basically just saying goodbye to my car because she was so great to me. So I feel like that was the only appropriate way, was to give her a nice send off, was to let the world know my love for her. And so this happens. So I get over to the scrapyard. And I called a couple of different ones, and they all like wanted different things and like different directions, like how to bring the vehicle there. And I found like the simplest one. They were just like, just drop it off and we pay you for it and you go from there. Okay. So then I get there, and the guy, so I take pictures of everything, you know, like how it looks and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm posting these. And so I get the car there, I drop it off, and I tell the guy, you know, I'm wanting to scrap it. And he was like, all right. He was like, $250 is the most I pay for a car. I said, $250? And he was like, $250. That's $250 is the most. He said, does it run? I said, yeah, I mean, if you get that part fixed. He was like, all right, yeah, $250. He was like, that's the most I'll do. And when I was talking to people, like everyone said, normally you get around like 500 or something. So I sit here and I'm just kind of thinking this through. And the tow truck driver that was over there, he was like, hey, how much did he offer you for it? And I was like, $250. He said, man, he said, honestly, that's a good deal because he was like, scrap metal's so low right now. So he was like, I'm surprised, he didn't even go lower. So I was like, yeah, okay. So I'll go with the deal. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, $250. It's a cold way for my baby to go out, but it is what it is at this point. Because I'm still on the words of this lady from Firestone, is it's not runnable. It's not runnable. It's gonna have to be taken to a transmission shop, and they're gonna have to figure it out from there. And I just keep hearing in my head, just more money, more money, more money, more money. And the car it's valuable emotionally, but not physically worth that much. So, all right. So I post these pictures and stuff, and then like people start telling me like, hey, you can fix that. It's just like a little thing that goes in there, and it's like a little brace or like an attachment. It pops right back in there. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, but the people at the shop, they know, they work at the shop. And so I get to work, and the same day, and my manager says, I'm telling him about it and stuff because I rode in with my roommate. He was like, bro, why didn't you call me? He was like, my stepdad owns a car shop. He was like, I grew up working on cars. He was like, I still work on cars. He was like, let me see it. So I show it to him, and he was like, you can fix that. And I was like, what? He was like, dude, you can fix this. This is no issue. He was like, you can probably replace that whole bottom, and it's not like, he was like, you should get your car back. And so in my head, all I heard was, my baby's back. And I was like, okay. And I was like, wait, what, you really think? And he was like, dude, yeah, you can. He was like, I will help you work on it if you get it back. He was like, hell, I might even buy it if you get it back. He was like, because it looks good. He said, but if that's the issue, he was like, dude, you can get that fixed. So I was like, okay. So I call up the people, I call up the scrapyard, and they're like, we don't sell whole cars. I said, what? So I can't buy my car back. And they're like, we don't know. You'll just have to kind of, we have to check it out to see if we've taken any parts off of it or anything like this. They're giving me this runaround. And I was like, okay, well, when can you know? And the lady was like, well, let me talk to the head guy. And I was like, all right. So then he gets on the phone, and he was like, well, let me check it out. He was like, you got to give me a little bit of time. And he was like, and I'll get back to you. And I was like, all right. I said, well, tell you what. I said, unless you get back to me today, I'll just show up in the morning. And he was like, okay. He was like, but just give me a little bit of time. All right. So you got to think. So I had the issue on a Friday afternoon. Didn't have to take care of it until the following, I believe it was like Tuesday or Wednesday. And then which is when I got it sold off. And then the following Friday after that is when I get it over to Firestone, and then get it sold off to the scrapyard. And so then I'm going back this Saturday morning to go get the issue resolved with the scrapyard. So then they were like, hey man, you got to give us some more time. He was like, call me back in a little while or something like that. And I was like, okay. So then I called them back at like 11:30, called them back at like 11:30, like 12 o'clock, like in the afternoon. And they keep hanging up like the phone on me. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? I want my car back. And like, so finally, I get the guy back on the phone again. I'm like, hey, yo, like, I don't know why the phone keeps cutting off, but can I just come up there? Does that make it easier? He was like, yeah, that just makes it a whole lot easier. Just come up here. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll come up there. So then I drive all the way across town. I got work at 4 o'clock and I'm heading up there like 12:30. And so then I get there. So I talked to the guy. He was like, okay. He was like, well, let me get it checked out to make sure there's no parts missing or something like that. And I was like, that's what I thought you said you were doing this morning. And then he was like, I've been real busy. I've been real busy, my friend, real busy. And I'm like, okay, all right. So then he goes on, we go through all the paperwork and stuff. And he was like, okay. He was like, so I gave you $200 for the car? And me being an honest guy, I was like, no, you gave me $250 for it. And he was like, so then you give me $450. And I was like, $450? And he was like, he said, look, he said, I'm trying to help you. I don't have to make the sale. I don't have to make the sale. I'm helping you. And I was like, man, all right, I still got to get this thing towed out of here. Like, I got it. Okay, fine. I was like, okay, $450. So I was like, you take card? And he was like, well, if I take card, it has to be a transaction, like all this type of stuff. He was like, basically like, cash is better. He was like, and I was like, man, I don't even have that much cash on me. I'll have to go to the ATM. He was like, and I was like, fine, I'll go to the ATM. So now I drive, and keep in mind, this scrapyard is out in the middle of nowhere. So I have to drive another 12 minutes just to, in the opposite direction to go to an ATM, just to turn around and drive back out there to pay him the money. The ATM only gives me $400. Okay, so I get there and I tell him, I said, hey, the max the ATM would give me was $400. He said, I'll take the $50 on the card. And I was like, why did you just take the entire $450 on the card? Like, this would have made I just drove 30 minutes there and back for no reason. You could have just taken the $450 off the card. So then I was like, okay, cool, $50. I was like, and then that's it. Like, we'll be done. He was like, yeah, the $50 on the card, we're done. And I was like, okay. And so I pay him the $450. I pay him the $50 on the card, the $400 in cash. And then he says, he's like, I tear up the paperwork, no big deal. It never happened. And I'm like, so you basically just hustled me. Like, you gave me $250 and I pay you back. I get making a profit off of it, but now you're just kind of trying to gouge me a little bit. But it is what it is, just because it's my mistake, I guess. So I look at him and I was like, yeah, man, all right. And I was like, look, so I had to call up this tow truck. So this is now the next part. The tow truck, nobody in this area. I called 7 different tow companies. Everybody is booked up for 1.5 hours to 3 hours. And I was like, I got to get to work. I'm not even going to be at home to actually like receive the car, to pay up, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, look, okay. So I finally get one that he said it'll be about 1 hour, 1:10, somewhere in there. So I told him where to pick it up from. And so then I finally get the car brought back to my house. So this is where we start to wind down here. And so then I finally get it back, pay $75 for the tow guy. So I scrapped my car for $250, and the part only cost $180. And my manager was like, dude, just get it worked on. He was like, it'll be way cheaper. It'll cost you, he was like, maybe overall like $300 something instead of, but if you look online for how much it is, it's right around $800 if you take it to a dealership. So even still, or if you take it to like to a shop. So even if I take it to a shop, it still comes out way cheaper for what's going on with my car than I thought in my head of the transmission of $2,000 plus dollars, because I was listening to the lady at Firestone and she told me all this stuff that just, I don't know. So overall, that's what happened. Thank y'all for watching if you made it this far. I kind of want to keep doing like more story times like this. I got a couple other just random stories about stuff, but this is the most recent one of just something that happened to me. And I felt as if like I needed to make a video for it. So yeah, Thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know in the comments if you do kind of want me to do another story time. I'm sure I got like I said, no, I'm not sure. I know for a fact I got way more stories of stuff I could talk about. I probably have to run a few of them by some people. Make sure I can clear the story first. But yeah, I got some. But yeah, we're still on the road to 5,000. We want to get to 5,000 subscribers in, man, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're right there. And we're closer, way closer. Thank you all for that. But yeah, that's what we're trying to get to. Yeah, we're going to do a giveaway at 5,000. That's what it was. So we're going to do a giveaway with a hat with my channel's logo, with a t-shirt with my channel's logo, and we're going to do a gift card giveaway as well. But more details about that as we get closer. Also, check out my podcast. So I have my Ambitious Journey podcast, and that has video and audio. And so you can actually just go watch the video over at our YouTube channel and subscribe to that. Thank you. And or the audio is just on any major platform as far as like Spotify, Apple, things of that sort. You can find it on there too. So yeah, I think that's everything I got in this story. Don't just give up on your vehicle and your memories. Try to save them, and I guess know more about cars. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Till next time.